Okay, so hello again, everybody. Lyndon Price, President of the North Carolina Chapter of the Internet Society, winding down here on the 25th anniversary of the Internet Society and InterCommunity 2017. So if everyone will look at your little handout that you were given, you should have an executive summary of the Internet Society's 2017 Internet Report. So I know you're all very busy people and you're all executives, so you get the executive summary. But if you would like to read the entire thing online, you can. Just go to the Internet Society's website and you can read the full 120-page report. All right, so I'm just going to go through some of the highlights here because I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. But every year, the Internet Society puts out a report sort of specifying or analyzing the health of the internet. And when they're looking at the health of the internet, they're trying to figure out, is it still open? Is it still from the ground up? Is it still representing the interests of people? Or has it been influenced negatively by outside forces? And so you'll see a lot of different things listed here. Some of the impactors, the drivers of change that they list here in the future for the internet are going to be the internet in the physical world, artificial intelligence, cyber threats, the internet economy, network standards and interoperability, and the role of government in the internet. So first up, the internet in the physical world, that's the Internet of Things. If you guys have ever heard of Cisco Systems, they've been working on the Internet of Things quite a bit. One of the problems with the Internet of Things is as more physical objects out in the world are put online, there's going to be less of a distinction between being on the internet and being off the internet. Presently, if you're on the internet, then that implies that you have done something to actively choose to engage in internet activities with all of the associated risks assumed. With the Internet of Things, you may find yourself waking up in the morning, stepping out of your front door, and then suddenly you're on the internet, whether you like it or not, right? Because all the physical objects you're interacting with are connected to the internet. So that's the first thing that they address here. The other thing is artificial intelligence, which is of course going to become an increasingly important topic as we start talking about automation of work and jobs. And then they're also looking at cyber threats in general. So cyber threats such as big hacking incidents or incidents of security breaches. Very recently to, what was it, maybe last week, Equifax, there was a massive leak of data for them. So I know that's on top of everybody's mind. But that's one of the issues that's going to just going to get worse and worse. And we're not really seeing the demand, or we're not seeing the supply of qualified security engineers meet the demand. So that's going to be a big issue in the future. The internet economy. So who here owns Bitcoin? Somebody should. Someone needs to own it, right? So yeah, that's going to be changing the way that people do their banking and do purchasing. In terms of network standards and interoperability, this is the sort of thing that the Internet Society already kind of has dug its teeth into. There was the big net neutrality debate earlier this year, and I did a couple of videos on it, talking about how the FCC in the United States wasn't going to be taking steps to protect net neutrality in the United States, which is going to be a challenge going forward to make certain that the cable companies that have monopolies over certain areas for internet access don't use that to abuse their position. And finally, the role of government is that we're starting to look at an increasingly segmented internet, where more and more countries are choosing to try to censor or block off internet access in their country to specify what can come in and what can go out. And the entire idea, or the entire concept of the internet, is that it's a global system, a global network. And the more disconnections and the more segmentations there are in it, the worse it operates and the less benefit it provides for the users. So that's it. That's my summarization of the report. I try to make it as brief as possible, but it is a 120-page paper. It's very readable. It's not super technical. If you want to check it out, it's on the Internet Society's website. You can do that. We're sort of making our decisions about what kinds of activities we engage in based on this report and based on the ideas put forth in it. So I mentioned some of those earlier about cyber education and stuff like that. So probably some good stuff to keep in mind. Now, are there any questions? Outrages? All right, fantastic. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I imagine that the drivers have changed, kind of trickled down maybe to the areas of impact. I mean, is it a two-way street, and that can happen vice versa? I could personal rights, personal freedoms and rights maybe affect role of government or the internet economy or vice versa. Like I can see it happening in one direction, but how about it in the other?
Yeah, and in the actual report, this is a, okay, so the question was, the drivers, what's the relationship between the drivers of change and the areas of impact, and does it work in both directions? And the answer is yes, it does, and it actually, this is a simplified version of this, this diagram, and in the full report, it shows arrows leading from one area to another, showing how one impacts the other. And so you're right, it does go in both directions there. But yeah, that's pretty much that. If there are no other questions. All right, fantastic. Well,
so I just wanted to say thank you for putting this together here in North Carolina, RTP, and the food was great.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. So thank you for putting all that work together.
Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was very good food. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I'm just going to go ahead and, we were planning on going into a 4, but I think this is probably a good place to stop it off at. So thanks everyone for joining, and have a nice rest of the day.